Okay, I believe that means we're live. Let me double check. Latency's kicking in. Says 5 seconds over there. Hold on. Just got
Nice.
to make sure we're live on the actual YouTube channel. I'm not seeing anything on the actual YouTube channel. End stream. That means we've started.
That means we've started.
I'm going to go and pretend as if we've started until it says otherwise. Okay. Hello, howdy, everybody. Yep, 30 some seconds. It says end stream, which means we've had to be started. We are in John chapter 4. I have my Bible on the screen right in front of me. And Corey, you have the same?
I do. Yep. John chapter 4.
Great. Can you jog my memory on what happened on the previous chapters?
I was hoping you jog mine. So.
That's why I asked you, because I know.
Yeah, I guess you do. So I know in chapter 3, it was Nicodemus came to Jesus and basically admitted, and he's one of the Pharisees, and basically said that we know you're the true Spirit of God. And then
So that's chapter 3.
That's chapter 3. And then it went on to talk about John baptizing people, which I think that was actually in John chapter 2. John baptized, and then Christ gained a following and went around performing miracles, from what I remember. I'm trying to skim through here.
Oh, you're cheating.
I am cheating a little.
Okay, so I'm writing down what you're saying. So John chapter 3, what did you say for John chapter 3 again?
Oh, that one was when Nicodemus came in the middle of the night, I believe, to meet Jesus and tell him that that they think he is the true God.
Okay. And then you said in chapter 2 that was like the baptizing and everything. What about chapter 1?
Chapter 1, it was the introduction of John, and then the introduction of John being a speaker of truth, because he said the same things. He said a lot of the same things that were said in Genesis, and it all correlated properly.
Okay. So to put it all right around in the correct order, I'd say chapter 1's the intro, verifying that John is a truth speaker and what his mission is. Yep. Chapter 2 is the appointing of Jesus and getting him established. And then chapter 3 is the conversation between Jesus and Nicodemus and all that whatnot. And there's more in there. We talked about the story of turning water into wine and a few other things, but like that's the main gist. So now we have Jesus who's established. The Pharisees know that Jesus is of God. That's their exact words, is of God. And Jesus says the famous verse, John chapter 3, verse 16. If we have to make it very simple. Okay, chapter 4. Do you want to start reading?
Sure. John chapter 4. When therefore the Lord knew how the Pharisees had heard that Jesus made and baptized more disciples than John, and then in parentheses it says, though Jesus himself baptized not, but his disciples.
So it's being very clear that Jesus led more people to be baptized through the people that he already hired. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, verse 3.
He left Judea and departed again into Galilee, and he must needs go through Samaria. So he left Judea, and he's headed to Galilee, but he's got to go through Samaria.
Yep.
Then cometh he to a city of Samaria, which is called Sychar, near to the parcel of ground that Jacob gave to his son Joseph. Verse 6. Now Jacob's well was there, Jesus, therefore, being wearied with his journey, sat thus on the well, and it was about the 6th hour. I assume they're talking about a water well.
Yeah, so the well is they dig down into the ground so they can get water. And Jacob built this well back when he was alive. If you've ever heard his story in the Old Testament. And so this was the well that they had from way back when. Jesus comes to this well. Did they say where was this again?
It was
Samaria?
in Sychar, a city
Like,
of the city inside of Samaria called
okay.
Sychar.
So he goes to Sychar, and I'm sure we're butchering that name. And
It
he
gotta
goes to
be.
this well around noontime, I'm pretty sure. And he sits down. So noontime, um, I'm trying to think. I think a lot of the people who didn't want to be seen, now I could be wrong, but I think a lot of the people who didn't want to be seen would go out around noon because it was hot, it was sunny, and so those who didn't really care would go out in the afternoon rush when they would get their well water and everything. But then the people who didn't want to be seen, didn't want to be the people who were looked down upon, the people who were judged, they would go and get their water when nobody else was. That's what I'm thinking. And you're fact checking me right now, aren't you?
Yep, I'm trying to see which one. You're right. The 6th hour is noon.
Okay. I know my stuff.
You know your stuff. I'm impressed. In the Bible, the 6th hour is noon. Very good. Yeah, so I bet it was absolutely hot because they were in a desert in the Middle East.
Yeah.
So yeah, that must have been scalding.
Verse 7. Go ahead.
There cometh a woman of Samaria to draw water. Jesus saith unto her, Give me to drink. For his disciples were gone away unto the city to buy meat. So Jesus was alone at the well when this woman approached.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, for his disciples were gone away into the city. In one of the other books, it mentions that he tells his disciples to go into the city. And that's the thing is these four different stories, they all say what's important to them. And so John left out the detail that he told them to go into the city and just that they were in the city. So there's no contradiction. It's just, not being as clear as I'd like.
Right.
Anyway, continue.
Verse 9. Then saith the woman of Samaria unto him, How is it that thou, being a Jew, askest a drink of me, which am a woman of Samaria? For the Jews have no dealings with the Samaritans. So what? They had some type of hostile relationship almost between Jews and Samaritans?
So the Jews were very clean people. They always stressed a lot on being extremely clean.
Like
They
hygiene.
wouldn't defile themselves by going into other people's houses that weren't Jews. They wouldn't hang out with sinners. They wouldn't hang out with Gentiles. They were the Jews. They were God's chosen. And Samaritans were like, if I can remember, a half breed. They weren't supposed to exist as far as the Jews are concerned.
Ah.
And so they were like half Jew, half not. If I'm correct, again, I could be mistaken. I should hear some click clacking on your keyboard.
No, I'm not. Nah, I don't even know what to Google to fact check that.
Where did the Samaritans come from?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, go type that in. But if I'm familiar, like the Samaritans were looked down upon.
The Samaritans are an ethno-religious group that originated from the Israelites and Hebrews of the ancient Near East. So
Yeah,
I guess
so
they were, between.
They were half Israelite and half Hebrew, I
Okay.
believe. And so they weren't pure Jews, and so the Jews looked down upon them. And so the general consensus is that the Jews wouldn't mess with these people. Just like they wouldn't mess with the Gentiles, they wouldn't mess with these people. Because Jewish people were told by God not to interbreed with anybody else. Not like a racism thing, but like just keep your genes to yourself. Be God's chosen people. And some of them got away from that and had sex with other people. And you got the Samaritans. And you'll see throughout the Bible, they mention this disfavor towards the Samaritans. You ever heard of the story of the like the Samaritan on the side of the injured person on the side of the road, and how the Samaritan went and helped him. And it's
No.
like, why is it so important that it was a Samaritan? Well, the Samaritans were looked down upon by the Jews. So to have a Jew on the side of the road and the Samaritan go and help, they always thought of the Samaritans as these evil people. And here's one helping.
Uh,
So that's where you get the term Good Samaritan.
ah.
Is the Good
Ah.
Samaritan who helped the person on the side of the road. Should probably just led with that. So what I'm getting at here, if I can get my big old face out of the way of my screen, it's taking up 90% of what I'm looking at. There we go. What I'm looking at here is this Samaritan woman who is out in the middle of the day, so she doesn't really want to be seen. For some reason, she doesn't want to be seen. It's the middle of the day. Why would you go out for water at the mid heat? And she asks, "Why would you, a Jew, want me, a Samaritan, to go and get you water?" Verse
10.
Verse 10.
Yeah.
Jesus answered and said unto her, If thou knowest the gift of God, and who it is that saith to thee, Give me a drink, thou wouldest have asked of him, and he would have given thee living water. The woman saith unto him, Sir, thou hast nothing to draw with, and the well is deep. From whence then hast thou that living water? So to translate to modern day English, or American, Jesus says, if you knew who were sitting right in front of you, you would ask me for water. If you knew the gift of God, and you know who were sitting in front of you, you'd ask me for water. And then she says, you don't have anything to draw the water with. You don't have a bucket. And how are you going to go and get the water? It's so deep down in the well. You need like a rope and a bucket, and you'd have to a whole system. And then she says, Art thou greater than our father Jacob, which gave us the well and drank thereof himself, and his children, and his cattle? Jesus answered and said unto her, Whosoever drinketh of this water shall thirst again. But whosoever drinketh of the water that I shall give him shall never thirst. But the water that I shall give him shall be in him as well as the water springs up into everlasting life. So he's talking a little bit in code here. And I think it's to not come off as crazy, which is interesting that that's how you approach it. But he starts talking about water, and he says, the water that I have to give, you will never thirst. It has eternal life. He's speaking of salvation here.
It seems like a lot of the times in this chapter and the last chapter, he basically, whatever is happening, he makes a parable to salvation.
Well, I think part of it is that people aren't ready to accept it. So he speaks in these poetic means because he knows that if he just came out and said, the way to salvation is to accept that I died on the cross for you, people would be like, what on earth are you talking about?
Right.
You didn't die on the cross. You know what I mean? And so he's more or less talking to us. He's not really talking to them. Like, he does talk to them, but he's also talking to us now because we understand this better because we've seen from the beginning to the end. And so he speaks in a way where we understand, but they don't. And you'll see that in the next verse. The woman saith unto him, Sir, give me this water, that I thirst not, neither come hither to draw. She's saying, I don't want to come here to draw water, and I'd hate to thirst. Give me this water. She's asking for water. He's not talking about water. Jesus said unto her, Go call thy husband, and come hither. The woman answered and said, I have no husband. Jesus said unto her, Thou hast well said, or you spoke the truth. I have no husband. For thou hast had 5 husbands, and he whom you know is not thy husband. So the guy that you're with right now is not your husband. And that sayest thou truly. The woman said unto him, Sir, I perceive that thou art a prophet. So Jesus says, you're right to say you don't have a husband. But not only that, then he goes forward and says, you've had 5 husbands, and the one you're living with right now isn't even your husband. So he calls her out for her sin. and calls out something that nobody should know about her unless they've like talked to her and like hung out with her. This is strange.
Right.
And he says, "You're a prophet. You're a man of God. I recognize this now." See, the thing is, he asked her, and he sat down at that well because he knew that would happen. Our fathers worshipped in this mountain, and ye say that in Jerusalem is the place where men ought to worship. Jesus saith unto her, Whom believeth in me, the hour cometh, when ye shall neither in this mountain nor yet at Jerusalem worship the Father. Ye worship ye know not what. Ye know what we worship, for salvation is of the Jews. Let me read that again. It sounded a little, sometimes the King James can even choke me up.
It's a tongue twister. It really is.
Ye worship ye know not what. So you don't know what you worship. Ye know what we worship, referring to the Jews, for salvation is of the Jews. So he's saying you don't know what you worship. You know what the Jews worship because the Jews have salvation, is what he's saying. Okay, verse 23. But the hour cometh, and now is, when the true worshippers shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth. For the Father speaketh such to worship him. God is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. The woman saith unto him, I know that Messiah cometh, which is called Christ. When he is come, he will tell us all things. Jesus saith unto her, I that speak unto thee am he. So she says, I know that God's coming in flesh. And he says, yep, I'm that person. And he says, if you worship me, then you will be saved. And that's the thing, is he's speaking, right now we worship in the temples. Right now you have to go to Jerusalem if you're sincere. In the future, you can worship anywhere you are in spirit, for God is a spirit. And then she says, I know that there's, Christ is coming, and then Christ will tell us all things. And he says, I'm that person. This is why I'm telling you this. And then, if you want to read the next verse, 27.
In verse 24,
Go ahead.
I understand when it says worship him in spirit, but what does it mean when it says and in truth? You worship in truth?
God is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. If I had to guess, and this is to each of their own understanding, to each trying to figure it out. It's not to private interpretation. I would say in truth means like sincerity or faith. Knowing for a fact. Don't just half do it, but to do it with all of your heart, kind of. Like that kind of thing. That'd be my guess. And I could be wrong. I'm not some infinite knowledge of the Bible or anything.
Okay, verse 27. And upon this came his disciples, and marveled that he talked with the woman. Yet no man said, What seekest thou? Or why talkest thou with her? So nobody doubts him for why he's talking to the Samaritan.
Oh yeah, well he's talking to, scum of the earth.
Right.
Jesus, God of the universe, is talking to a scum of the earth.
And they don't even bat an eye at it. They just are like, yep.
No, they bat an eye. They just don't say anything.
They don't say anything?
They notice it right away. I mean, you can see. And upon coming to the disciples and marveled, they thought really long and hard, like, whoa, what on earth is happening? That he talketh with a woman. With the woman, not a woman. Yet no man said anything.
Yep.
So they wondered.
They wondered, but they didn't say anything. Okay, verse 28. The woman then left her water pot, and went her way into the city, and saith to the men. So she goes back to the city. Come, see a man which told me all things that I ever did. Is not this the Christ? Then they went out of the city. I guess the the woman and also the rest of the people she spoke to in the city, and came unto him, Christ, I assume.
Yeah.
In the meanwhile, his disciples prayed him, saying, Master, eat. But he said unto them, I have meat to eat that ye know not of. Therefore said the disciples one to another, Hath any man brought him aught to eat? I have
So
no. What does that mean?
so meat just means food. In Genesis, the Bible says, fruits and seeds and herbs as meat. So meat just means, the edible food that we can use. So
Okay.
what they're saying is when they said that we prayed to him, what they're saying is they talk to him, they bet, they're like, here, have some food, is what they said. And then he says, I have food that you do not know of. He does not say, I've already eaten. He says, I have food that you don't know of, or substance that you do not know of. And they said, did somebody else give him food already?
Is that what that mean? Hath any man brought him aught to eat? That
Yeah.
doesn't mean, those words strung together don't mean anything to me.
Where is that?
Hath any man brought him aught to
Where
eat?
is that?
The last half of verse 33.
33. Yeah. Hath any man, so did a man brought, I don't know why they would use the word brought, it's probably Old English, brought him, or, did they bring him ought to eat? So something to eat. So hath any man bring him, anything to eat? Or brought is the past tense.
Yeah.
So if I were to say it in today, I'd say, did anybody bring him something to eat?
Yeah. Okay, verse 34. Jesus saith unto them, My meat, my food, is to do with the will of him that sent me, and to finish his work. Say not ye, There are yet 4 months, and then cometh harvest? Behold, I say unto you, Lift up your eyes, and look on the fields, for they are white already to harvest. For they are white already to harvest. White to me would mean snow. What does that mean? Must be an
Keep reading. I think
agricultural
the
term.
next verse might mention something.
Okay.
It could be that the plants look like they're ready to harvest. I don't know.
And he that reapeth receiveth wages, and gathereth fruit unto life eternal, that both he that soweth and he that reapeth may rejoice together.
Okay. So I'm thinking white to harvest is like the plants blossoming or showing that they're ready. I'm going to type it in, white to harvest. And let's see. White to harvest. Fields that are ready to be harvested is what it's saying.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's just saying the fields are ready. I'm sure it comes down to like a color of the fields or, referring to something more specific. But the general term is, 4 months till harvest.
Yeah.
But they're already ready.
Right.
You let them sit there for a while until you need them, and then you go get them. But the fields are already ready. And if you go out now, you would get your reward now. Continue.
We're on 37. And herein is that saying true, one soweth and another reapeth. I sent you to reap that whereon ye bestowed no labor. Other men labored, and ye are entered into their labors. So what he's saying, one man works and another man gets the reward. Looks like he said that in 37 as well.
Yeah, so you got to read the full story to understand, so I'm not going to give you the answer yet. But I'll give you this. He's not talking about crops.
He never is.
He's in another parable, okay? And he's saying, the fields are ready. Somebody else planted these seeds. I'm sending you into harvest. So what's next?
All right.
Are we at verse 39?
We are, yes.
And many of the Samaritans of that city believed on him for the saying of the woman, which testified, he told me all that ever I did. Okay.
So the city must be.
They're listening in on this.
Well, I was gonna say the city must be the crops, and that they're ready to turn to God. Is what I'm thinking.
Okay. So when the Samaritans were coming to him, they besought him that he would tarry with them, or wait a while with them. And he abode there 2 days. So he stayed with them 2 days. And many more believed because of his own words. And said unto the woman, Now we believe, not because of thy saying, for we have heard him ourselves, and know that this is indeed the Christ, the Savior of the world. Now after 2 days he departed thence, and went to Galilee. For Jesus himself testified that a prophet hath no honor in his own country. Then, hold on.
So your smoke alarm? Hope his house isn't burning down. My goodness. I'm sleepy, guys. Just ate a half bag of cookies and milk right before the show, and so I'm yawning so much. There's only one left. You guys ever had these?
I'm back, don't worry.
Oh,
We have
oh,
sensitive fire alarms, and whenever my wife cooks, they always like to spasm. And so I told her not to cook at the moment. Because, yeah, just right now is not the right time. For some reason, we have hyper eccentric smoke alarms, and then we have a stove that likes to smoke things every once in a while. So I know I just like left and then came back, and everybody's like, "Oh no, the fire! It's burning the house down." You hear that again? I hope it doesn't. Okay. Well, I'm going to continue, and we're going to make sure, we're going to hope and pray that it doesn't do anything more.
It's not that loud.
The back one isn't. The one in the other room. The one in this room is the one that's loud. So as we're saying, he leaves Galilee. Have you ever heard the phrase, like the harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few?
Yes.
That's kind of what he's getting at here. Is the field is ready to be harvested, but nobody's harvesting it. And so he walks into this place. He mentions 1-2 things about, what he's talking about, and everybody's like, "This is Christ," and he converts everybody. Yeah. Because he's not planting the seeds. He is harvesting something that already is. 45. Then when he was come into Galilee, and Galilee received him, having seen all the things that he did at Jerusalem at the feast. I think we missed something. Yeah, for Jesus himself testified that a prophet hath no honor in his own country.
What does that mean?
So we talked about this once before, where he tries to go to Jerusalem, and the people don't believe him because they're like, "We were raised around this person. We know this person. We know his dad." And so a prophet never gets where he's trying to go in his own family, in his own community.
That makes sense, because a lot of what he's doing is telling people about their life when they're a stranger. But if you were raised in the city and you know everyone in the city, you can't really do that because you know them. That
as well. But like, for example, I was debating my grandfather on evolution. I was smearing him into the floor. I was good at it. I was getting him to contradict himself. I was respectfully, I was showing him that he was wrong, to the point where he had no answer. And I remember one day when it was particularly bad, when I got him to say that he would not believe in evolution, that it was all false, if I could show him a dinosaur bone that was soft with a tissue in it, like blood vessels. And then I did through 60 Minutes, a show that he idolizes. And when I did that, he was like, "Oh crap, I just lost to my grandson. I wiped this guy's butt." You know what I mean? And he was not happy about it. He was really mad, and that's the day I learned I'm not going to be the guy to convince him he's wrong.
Right.
I'm little baby Jeremiah to him, and I will always be little baby Jeremiah to him. And I don't resent that, but at the same time, I just understand I will have no honor in my own country.
That's a
I
good
will have no honor among the people who know me.
yeah, it's a good comparison.
I'll always be little Jeremiah.
Mm-hmm.
So, but other people, those who haven't seen me as a little kid, think I'm the greatest person on the planet. You should hear Ryan talk about me every once in a while. I gotta tell him to quit because he goes too far.
All right,
Okay.
where are we at? Verse 45, I think.
For Jesus himself testified that a prophet hath no honor in his own country. Then when he was come into Galilee, the Galileans received him, having seen all that things that he did at Jerusalem, at the feast, for they also went unto the feast. So notice, when they went to the feast in Jerusalem, the people in Jerusalem rejected him and condemned him. He leaves, and the Galileans praise him for it. The Galileans aren't his own country. They don't know him. And they praise him for it. So he's fulfilling his own prophecy. He's fulfilling the same thing he said. So Jesus came again into Cana in Galilee, where he made the water wine, and there was a certain nobleman whose son was sick in Capernaum. So he's backtracking to places he's already been. When he heard that Jesus was come out of Judea into Galilee, he went unto him and besought him that he would come down and heal his son, for he was at the point of death. Then Jesus said unto him, Except ye see signs and wonders, ye will not believe. The nobleman said unto him, Sir, come down ere my child die. So he's saying, Come down or my child will die. Jesus saith unto him, Go thy way, thy son liveth. And the man believed the word that Jesus had spoken unto him, and he went his way. And as he was now going down, his servant met him, and told him, saying, Thy son liveth. Then inquired he of them the hour when he began to amend. And they said unto him, Yesterday at the 7th hour, the fever left him. So the father knew that it was at the same hour in the which Jesus said unto him, Thy son liveth, and himself believed, and his whole house. This is again the second miracle that Jesus did when he was come out of Judea into Galilee. So he's done 2 miracles at this point, both of them in Galilee. And you can see here that he says, unless you see a miracle, will you not believe?
Right.
He did not believe until he saw the miracle. But then he says, Go, your son's healed. And he takes action on that. He says, Okay, I believe your words. And he goes. And his servant meets him because it was a several-day trip. It took him a day and a half to get to this point, and it took the other guy a day and a half to reach him, so it's like a 3-day journey or so. And he says, When was my son healed? And he says, At the exact same time that you talked to Jesus.
Mm.
In modern days, that'd be the equivalent to, I'm in another country or something, or I'm on the other side of our country, and Lord says your son's healed, and then I get a phone call a minute later saying your son's healed, because I wouldn't have to travel that long distance.
Right.
But like it happened instantaneously across this massive point, and that's when him and his entire family believed. Is when they saw that miracle. But I will say the important thing is that he believed on the word.
Right. Yeah.
And he left. And I feel like if I went over this part, I'd be missing something great. Because that is a very big point. He believed upon the word and he acted. And then he was saved. And then he saw. You could say that he believed way earlier when Jesus said your son lives. He acted in belief right then. And I feel like that's a lot of the way that we are. When we go and get saved, we believe upon the Lord of Christ. We believe upon the word of Christ. And we act on that by asking God to, come into our lives. And then only after we acted on it do we get to see the miracle happen. Do we get to see what God was talking about in the spiritual realm? It is really hard for a spiritually dead person to understand any of this.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe there's another story. There seems to be a recurring theme. The other story I'm remembering is the woman who touches his robe in the town and she's healed. And then he says to her that he didn't heal her, it's her belief in him that healed her.
Yeah.
So that seems to be the case several times here. It's their
Well,
belief.
I don't want to get
in
into
him.
any doctrine at the moment, but I will say there is an overwhelming amount of scenarios in the Bible where someone's faith does something. Where he says, your faith has made you whole. Your faith has healed you. Your faith. Because of your faith. And there's many times, like, for example, Mary asking the servants, hey, whatever Jesus tells you to do it. Mm-hmm. It's that faith that convinces Jesus to go do this. And Jesus doesn't even touch the, any of the equipment. Right. He says, okay, follow my instruction. Faith and action in God's words will get you so much farther. Now, there are people who, kind of go off the deep end and say, if you believe enough, you can be healed of anything. It's all about how much faith you have. And I'm not going to say they're wrong. I'm just not going to say they're right. But I will say the Bible does have an overwhelming amount of faith stories where faith makes somebody whole. I mean, even salvation. It's through your faith by God's grace that you are saved. Your faith has a big role to do in it. Do not undermine your faith. Did you know in medieval times, the greatest weapon you could have was a shield? They said if you have to pick a sword or a shield, pick the shield. Your shield is your best weapon. You can block, you can attack with it, you can do a lot of things with a shield. Do you know what the Bible says the armor of God, what the shield is? Mm-mm. The shield of faith.
Shield of faith.
God, knowing what they used weapons and armor for, said your most important weapon is your faith. It can block, it can attack, it can everything. It is faith that is the most important thing. Because the Bible literally says, in case you're thinking I'm speculating, in Ephesians it says, above all else, taking the shield of faith that you may block the fiery darts of the devil. It says that. I can look up the exact words here. Hold on, let's look it up, just in case you don't believe me. Let me find it. Where in the Bible? That's what I like, is we have supercomputers today. Don't say, I don't know where it says anywhere in the Bible, because we have Google. Shield of faith. Shield of faith. I know it's in Ephesians. Ephesians chapter 6, 16. I'll read it off of the Google page right here.
Go ahead.
Hold on. I want to get it in King James. Is this the King James tab, or did they put it in some other language? Please say you did it in King James. Nope. CEB. What I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to copy. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to paste, because we're done with John chapter 4 for right now. Paste, search. And in King James, chapter Ephesians, chapter Ephesians. Man, my words today. I'm done. I'm ready to go to bed. Ephesians chapter 6, verse 16. Okay? Through 18. Above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked. So not of the devil, of the wicked. And take the helmet of salvation. So it goes on further with the rest. But verse 16. Chapter 6, verse 16. Above all else, taking the shield of faith, that you can deflect any attack from the wicked. You see right here the faith, believing that Jesus has his words be true, and going and acting on that does a lot.
Says it shields you. Says your faith shields you from the wicked. Then is what it says, right?
Yeah.
Your faith shields you from. So, and you differentiated. You said not the devil, but the wicked.
Well, yes, I corrected myself. It says, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked, not the devil. So I said devil. I'm correcting
I see.
myself because
I see.
I'm wrong. And in all reality, it's, well, now it's wanting to go to the CPS version. I don't want CPS. Where did it refreshed the tab? Okay, King James. Yeah, above all, taking the, hold on. Wait. So the different versions use different words. I'm going to stick with the King James, which means I'm still wrong.
Well, I don't know. I would say wicked and the devil are.
The devil is one of the wicked, but the devil is not the only wicked.
I'd say loosely right.
Does that make sense, though? The devil is not only wicked. The devil is one of the wicked. And so by saying wicked, you're referring to anybody who has anything to hurt you. Your shield of faith will protect you. Because think about it. What's the worst thing that somebody could do to you? Kill you?
I was going to say kill you, I guess. Kill
what
your family.
happens if you die and you have faith?
Go to heaven.
Okay.
That's not such a bad thing, is it?
Story. Death is not that bad anymore.
It's true.
Okay, well, I'm gonna wrap it up here.
Yep.
Let's see the comments real quick.
Any commenters?
Hey, you are live. Welcome everyone. This is Ryan. Jeremiah, please let Cory know how the Jews viewed the Samaritans. Yes, I said that. Hey, brethren, from Tim. Hi, Tim. Everyone, smash the like button. Yes. Smash that like button. If you've stayed to this point and you have not subscribed yet, we should be at 100% subscribers for everybody watching this clip right here. If you are not subscribed and you're watching this clip, then come on, what are you doing? Subscribe. Be a great person. Let me see. Ryan says I can't help it. Making hell nervous responded. I just made you a mod, Ryan. Use your power wisely. Oh no, Ryan's now a mod. Okay. So far, we have not had a troll come in here, but I'll be ready. Man, no trolls. Ryan, don't be too hard on the trolls. If they add comments, that means they're adding interaction with the video. Be nice with them. Only if they get out of line. Tim says, Cory, please come chill with us for fellowship night. So yes, for those who don't know and for those who want to see, every Saturday around this time, 7 o'clock, 7:30ish, I think it's 7 o'clock, we have a night where we chill and we don't do anything other than chill. You'll get to meet Ryan in person. He is one of our moderators, I guess now. He is our editor for the shorts, and the guy who reminds me that my show exists because I keep forgetting. Thank you, Ryan. If it wasn't for you, I would miss tonight. But yeah, every Saturday we just do this chill show. If you want to be part of the live streaming stuff and you want to see what live streaming feels like, it's open to anybody. Anybody can do it.
Did you all do it yesterday?
Yes, we did it Saturday.
Why didn't you text me? Because I completely forgot.
Because I forgot.
Okay,
Ryan, put this on your reminder list. I need to go and message Cory. Okay, Ryan? I'm gonna wait for you to put a verbally okay in the chat. I'm reading the chat right now.
Honestly, I think I took a nap around that time yesterday, so I don't know what good it would have done.
Saturday, 6 o'clock. Tell me to remind Cory. And I'm gonna trust you, Ryan, to handle that information.
It's just the memory power.
Okay, that's it for tonight. I got my verbal okay. Okay, I will. Ryan, you are awesome.
Thanks,
okay.
Ryan.
And then let me see. How do I turn this off? Go to here and hit end stream. End stream. And we're done.
You didn't say bye to everybody.
Oh no. Well, we're already done. I'm not gonna